asked someone with autism to stop a behavior. Now I'm being called insensitive, wondering if I crossed a line. I, 21F, work at a bar. I've been working there for just over a year, and things are going pretty well. For some background, we have a couple who comes in almost every night. Most of the time they are lovely, but when they get drunk, they become very disorderly. They disturb other tables and shout, sing loudly, and even fall over chairs. That guy. I have no idea why my manager still serves them drinks, but it's out my control. Anyway, they came in a couple days ago on a sunny day, so they decided to sit outside. They brought a few of their family members, their daughter and their daughter's son. After their third or fourth round, the wife came in carrying lots of pieces of broken glass. It looked as though 5 glasses had smashed. I asked to put it down as I didn't want her to get injured. She put it down, went outside, and came in with even more broken glass. She said, "Oh, he smashed some more." I wondered what was going on to have that many glasses smash, so I went outside with my broom to clean up the rest and saw the young son stacking glasses up really high, and they were all falling over. So no one was doing anything to stop him, which I thought was weird. So for their next round, my manager told me to put their drinks in plastics, and then he can stack those and there's no risk of them breaking. So I did just that. And the couple looked at me confused, so I explained why I'm not giving them glasses anymore. She got upset. It said he has autism. That's really insensitive. He doesn't know he's doing anything wrong. I was kind of over it at this point and sick of cleaning up glass, so I said, well, why isn't somebody watching him and telling him to be careful and not break other people's property? If he doesn't understand what's going on, broken glass can be very dangerous. She majorly kicked off and said she wanted to report me for not being tolerant to people with disabilities, just as she said that the young son ran into our staff-only area. And I said for health and safety reasons, he cannot be in there. Please ask him to leave that area. She said, no, I'm not going to ask him to do that. It will upset him. I just told you he had autism, so instead of responding, I just decided to go up to him and say hi. You can't be in here as it's staff only. Can you please leave for your safety? He left right away. No issues caused. But they were really upset that I was apparently disciplining and shouting at him, even though I know he is autistic. I didn't shout, I just politely asked him to leave that area. Now, every time she comes in, she gives me dirty looks and refuses to let me serve her, so I
Next story.
told my Melta she's overreacting about virtue names. Now she's upset, acting like it's a huge issue. My Mile has a really weird hatred for virtue names. This is something she has become vocal with in more recent years. A lot of it centers around the compared to your name, setting high expectations for your child thing. I, 29F, have a virtue name, Serenity. My Sil, 25, Aka, my husband's younger sister, and her husband are strongly considering a virtue name for their daughter, who is due in a few weeks. The male has been so outspoken recently against them that Sa asked me how I felt growing up with a name like Serenity, and whether I felt a ton of pressure to live up to the name. I told her I always felt like my name was really pretty, and I never felt like I was expected to live up to it. I told her until I was like 12, I was pretty wild as a kid, and I never had it thrown in my face that I wasn't living up to my name, or that my name didn't suit me. I told her my name was seen as pretty normal, and I wasn't even in a religious town. She mentioned Male's issues with virtue names getting to her. I pointed out to Sil that Grace is a name Memo loves, and that also counts as a virtue name. Sil, who forgot that, laughed, and it reassured her. She thanked me for the talk. I told her she could talk to me again if she needed to, and they should just follow their hearts on the name. So we were at Mile and File's house on Saturday, and Mill was off on a rant at Sil about virtue names again, and how she better not seriously consider one for her grandchild. Sil told her there was a virtue name on the list, and it was in their top 3 choices, and could be her granddaughter's name, so she needed to stop talking about the names like that, because she would not let her daughter hear that crap. Imel pulled me in, expecting me to be on her side, which is when I told her she's making a huge deal out of virtue names when she doesn't need to. I told her it's not a huge deal, and some are very common and popular today, my name included. She told me I should know, having lived with one, that it comes with a lot of judgmental comments. My husband jumped in and told her the most judgmental one was her, and like he had said before, she's rude ranting like she does in front of me when she knows I have one of those names she freaks out over. He told her nobody cares what she thinks of them at this point. Emil ignored him and asked if I was really going to put her granddaughter through a life full of being compared to her name. My husband and Sil told her to let it go. She told me she expected me to be more understanding and less dismissive of her genuine concerns. Ada.
Next story.
Skipped my sister's wedding after she refused to attend mine, but now everyone's furious I'm being blamed for the fallout. Full backstory, my sister is getting married next month and I don't want to go because she didn't come to my wedding. My wedding was planned out for over a year. I named her as one of my bridesmaids from the day I got engaged and expressed how important it was to me that she be there. She had over a year to plan to be there for me in any way she could. I live in Iowa, and she lives in Indiana. It's about a 7-hour drive. I even offered for her and her fiancé to stay in my home so they wouldn't have to pay for a hotel, I even offered to help with gas money. She claimed she couldn't come because of finances and refused to accept any financial or general support me, and my husband offered her. Additionally, my mother did not show, claiming the same excuse, financial reasons. So not only did I go dress shopping by myself, I did not have a bachelorette party and my mother and sisters did not show to my wedding, despite me offering to help financially. Now, my sister is getting married next month and she has sent me invitations and messages of hopes you'll make it. Oh, and she didn't even ask me to be a bridesmaid. I get to sit here and watch my mother pay for and take her out to her dress fittings and her dream bachelorette party while I was left in the most important day of my life. So I am asking you guys, do I sound like a bitter BH? And either are my feelings validated, and would you also choose not to attend the wedding? One part of me says, I don't want to be bitter, and I don't want anyone to ever feel the same hurt I did on such a special day when your family completely abandons you. However, on the other hand, I feel like if I attend there, will just be too much hurt left inside me to be happy for her or enjoy myself. I'm not saying my sister doesn't deserve a happy life, because she totally does. I just don't understand what I ever did to not receive the same support she thinks she's owed from me. Side note, my mother is incredibly bitter that I live in Iowa with my dad. They're divorced. I know it's not my sister's fault or anything, but my sister is having my stepdad walk her down the aisle. As to where in my wedding our biological father actually did show and walk me down the aisle, I suspect a lot of it has to do with unresolved feelings or my sister and mom staying in Indiana whilst my dad and me live in Iowa. But I don't see that as an excuse to isolate your family. Should I be the bigger person here? Help.
Next story. Why, Keeson kicked my future brother-in-law out of my wedding after he crossed the line with my kids. Now everyone's calling Maine the bad guy. My sister met her fiancé, Tim, 2 years ago. We only meet at my parents' house as I live in the next town with my now wife and my 2 step-kids. 4 to 6. Tim doesn't like kids. He's made it clear how much he's uncomfortable being around them. Every time I brought my kids to my parents' house, Tim started acting out. He tried to indirectly ban the kids from visiting their grandparents' house. Dad was firm, but Tim never stopped trying to exclude my kids from family events. Wife, I wanted to have our wedding at our house, a small celebration. Tim asked if there were going to be kids at the wedding, so my kids were the only ones at the wedding since we didn't have many guests. He tried to talk us out of involving my kids in the wedding and make it an adult event, but I told him to keep his thoughts to himself. So my kids were excited to be part of the wedding. Tim and my sister arrived late. The kids were with us the entire time. Tim looked visibly upset till he suddenly offered to take the kids to bathroom, so they wash up before eating. Minutes later he came back. I asked where the kids were. He said he took them to their bedroom cause they wanted to play with their toys. I thought it was out of character for them. I wondered why they suddenly didn't want to eat, since they said they were hungry. I wanted to check on them but got busy with my aunt's ankle injury. My younger sister came telling us the kids' bedroom's door was locked, and the kids were inside. My wife and I were in shock. We looked for the key. I asked my sister if she was the one who locked them in, but Tim said he did it, saying he was worried they'd wander around unsupervised and wanted to make sure they were safe, since everyone was busy. I took the key and got the kids out. My daughter told me Tim said I didn't want them to go outside, and that I'd punish them if they did. They're my kids now, of course I want them to be in my wedding. My wife was speechless. I lost it on Tim. I called him cruel and selfish for lying and doing this to my kids, trying to exclude them. I told him to get out. My sister defended him and was crying and calling me offensive names. I kicked her out too. My parents argued, saying what I did was unnecessary since Tim was just trying to help. They tried to get my wife to get involved before my sister decided to cut me out completely for what I did. I argued that they were unreasonable to think I was being bitter and explained why I kicked him out, but they still blamed me for my extreme reaction since Tim had good intentions. My wife was quiet all the time, probably wondering what the hell type of family she just married into. I don't blame her. My parents insist I talk to my sister and Tim, and everyone apologizes since this seemed to be a major misunderstanding. I refused, but they kept repeating the same thing. My parents say this must be a misunderstanding since Tim doesn't know how to deal with kids. However, they went quiet after they heard what my daughter said. My sister claimed that it's his way of getting kids to behave,